Hey everyone, welcome back. If you tuned in last week, you know I checked out the original Sonic Triple Trouble, the Game Gear version, and it was decent. It was fun, charming, but definitely held back by the hardware. Luckily, a fan developer named Noah Copeland felt the exact same way, apparently, because he went and made a complete ground-up remake in full Genesis-style 16-bit. And that's what I'm looking at today. And I gotta say, this man put in work. He didn't just remake the game, he made a full comic explaining the backstory of the game. He made trailers, and he even made posters that he put up on X that looked like 90s Genesis advertisements. He basically treated this like a real Sega release, and you gotta commend that level of passion. Let's start with the story that can be found in the comic. So, some mysterious figure hires Fang the Sniper, or Knack the Weasel, whatever you prefer to call him, but I like Fang the Sniper better, so I'm going to be calling him that for the rest of the video. Anyway, some mysterious figure hires him to go track down the Chaos Emeralds. Knuckles has just gotten the Master Emerald back after the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And then Metal Sonic shows up, but we don't see what happens next. Eggman then discovers the Chaos Emeralds can produce negative energy, which he can use to make negative copies. So now it is established that everyone wants the Chaos Emeralds pretty much. And Metal Sonic wants something, but it's a safe bet that he wants the Chaos Emeralds. So this leads directly into the game, which takes place literally right after Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic and Tails fly the tornado to what's left of the Death Egg, and this brings us to the opening section, which works as a tutorial. And to explain the gameplay real quick, it's nothing complicated. It feels exactly like classic Sonic. Spin Dash is here, the Super Peel Out is here, and even the Drop Dash. But the big new mechanic is that you can swap between Sonic and Tails instantly. Hit a button and boom, your Tails flying around. It's awesome, and I honestly want to ask Noah, if I ever get a chance to, where he got the idea. Like, if I could ask this guy one question about the development of this game, I'd have to ask him where he got the idea to have Tails and Sonic be able to swap places on a dime. Anyway, you eventually find Eggman piloting the busted remains of the Death Egg robot with pieces of Big Arm strapped to it. Sonic goes super, and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be sick. And the fight is pathetically easy. But you're Supersonic, so who cares? It's still badass. But then Eggman pulls a cheap shot. He uses the remains of Big Arm to pull a cheap shot and slams Sonic out of super form, grabs one of the Chaos Emeralds, and then the other 6 vanish to who knows where. Eggman then takes off, and Sonic and Tails also take off to go find the emeralds. But my guess is Fang is involved in some way, because you could see him laughing as Sonic and Tails run off. Amazing start. Legitimately, one of the best fan game openings I've ever seen. This leads us to the first zone, Great Turquoise Zone, and wow, this is a massive upgrade over the 8-bit original. The graphics are gorgeous, and I'm not even a graphics-focused guy, but come on, look at this! Elemental shields are also back. I found the fire shield and even the homing shield from Sonic 3D Blast. Yes, the homing shield is here, And those who don't know what the homing shield is, it was originally introduced in Sonic 3D Blast and was the origins of Sonic's homing attack. Yeah, it's basically just a shield that lets you do the homing attack. And it's cool that it's here, but you don't really need it for a 2D Sonic game. But I like it regardless. The level design keeps the spirit of the original zone very well, with the water skipping and the overall design, but adds many more things, such as vines and a much more expansive level. Then we get to the Act 1 boss, which is Fang on his flying motorcycle, shooting at you from above, and occasionally him trying to run you over. Solid fight, but the Act 2 boss is what really made my jaw drop. They brought back the turtle. Yes, the turtle from the original Sonic Triple Trouble. And you're probably wondering, this tiny, pathetic thing is the boss? Not really. After you beat it, you go a little further into the level and find this giant turtle. This right here. This is a boss. The fight isn't that difficult. It fires some missiles at you, but you can actually destroy the missile launchers to prevent it from firing. And also you damage the boss by hitting its head. So it's not that complicated, and overall, it's a pretty good fight. And after you beat the zone, Knuckles shows up, and instead of napalming the screen, like in the Game Gear version, he just casually throws a bomb at Sonic and Tails, the floor collapses, and then they fall into a chasm, land in a minecart, and boom, off to the next zone. There's actual zone transitions in this game. That's actually pretty cool. There's also slight variation on the music in each act, very much like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And Great Turquoise Zone's music was pretty solid, both acts. Here, take a listen. Next up is Sunset Park Zone, and oh boy, this place got an upgrade. I have nothing but praise for this zone. It is freaking awesome. The original Sunset Park looked fine. Kind of a bland industrial area with a sunset slapped on top, but this remake, this actually feels like a real industrial factory. Act 1 takes place outside, where you've got minecarts you can steal, tons of enemies to kill, pistons everywhere, and thankfully, the fans don't knock you out of your jump like they did in the Game Gear version. At least, not that I saw. So, already a win. The pacing is fast, the visuals are great, and the Act 1 boss is Knuckles. And this fight is perfect. Every attack he uses, every opening you get, the whole thing just feels awesome. It is easily one of my favorite boss encounters in the game. Then you get to Act 2, where you move inside the factory. And it looks incredible. You've got molten metal being poured into pits, cranes swinging around, and the whole place just feels alive. And the music? The music is pretty daggum solid in both acts. And then things get interesting. You see, I wasn't sure if this remake would have Act 3 because the last zone only had 2 acts. But Sunset Park does have a 3rd act. And oh boy, is it an upgrade. You see, in the original 8-bit game, Act 3 was a short auto runner where you sprint across a train and fight the conductor car. Cool idea, but it was pretty simple. In the remake, this thing is a full-on set piece. First, you have to actually catch the train in an auto run section, which is high speed and great energy. Then you climb up the train and start jumping on top of the cars. And then Fang shows up and blows up one of the connectors, splitting the train into 2 and forcing you to chase it again. Then, after you catch up to it and climb back on the train, and then the train goes through a tunnel and you have to run along the train cars while Fang shoots at you from just off screen, taunting you the whole time. You free multiple animal capsules along the way, by the way, which is a really cool touch. Then, after you run away from a freaking wall of fire, you finally reach the conductor car, and the fight is much easier than the original. And also, the animation that plays after you beat the boss is just hilarious. And the music. Oh man, they took one of the best tracks from the original Triple Trouble and somehow made it 10 times better. This track is an absolute banger. Next up is Meta Junglera, yet another zone that got a massive upgrade. It's still your classic jungle zone with these weird glass bulb things you can break, barrels you can fire out of, and tons of verticality, with slopes and all that good stuff. And the Act 1 boss is Fang the Sniper again. Still pretty easy, but I actually like that he shows up way more often in the remake. Because in the original, unless you were doing the special stages, you barely saw him until the end game. Here, he's basically harassing you every chance he gets, and it's great. The second act, though, is where things get wild. You only spend the first tiny bit of time in the main jungle before Fang hits a switch and drops you straight into an underground ruins area. And oh man, an ancient ruins level? Do I even need to say anymore? This place looks like a Mayan temple. There are arrows shooting out of the walls, snakes popping out of barrels. Yes, this thing is absolutely hilarious. I mean, just look at this dumb snake. There's Venus flytraps, stone carvings everywhere. This whole place's vibe is awesome. And the Act 1 music is fine, but Act 2's track, it's a total upgrade. It sounds perfect for an ancient ruins level. Seriously, take a listen to both. And the boss of this zone is once again a giant anaconda, just like in the original. But the fight is way more detailed and intricate than the Game Gear version. And after you beat it, instead of dodging falling snake chunks like in the Game Gear version, you get a full-on temple escape sequence. The whole place collapses as you sprint out. You are even at one point running away from boulders that are chasing you. And it's just awesome. And at this point, you're probably thinking, wait, where's Eggman? We haven't seen him since the beginning of the game. Well, that's about to change. Because right after you escape the ruins, Sonic and Tails splash into some water. And then, the Egg Zeppelin takes off from the water. Like it's been waiting for them. Perfect timing. Sonic and Tails grab onto the side of the ship, climb aboard, and immediately find a Rocket Shoes power-up. And you're probably wondering, what are those for? Well, Eggman sees Sonic and Tails, panics, slams a button, and ejects them off the ship. Because you grab the Rocket Shoes, you get a full-on jet-powered chase sequence where you fly back towards the Zeppelin. It's one of the only times Rocket Shoes appear in the whole game, which some hardcore Triple Trouble fans might be disappointed about, but Copeland added the elemental shields as well as the homing shields from Sonic 3D Blast. So I say it was a fair trade-off. Anyway, after you get back to the Zeppelin, you have to fight your way through the place, and it's only one act, but it's a solid act. There are enemies everywhere, tight platforming, and a pretty good atmosphere. Eventually, you blow up the engine, and the whole ship starts going down. Sonic and Tails jump out of the side and fall through the sky, and land safely in a huge pile of snow. And honestly, Sonic has survived worse falls, so I'll allow it. And you can even see the Zeppelin crash in the background as the next zone begins, Robotnik Winter. So now let's talk about the next zone, Robotnik Winter. And this zone is pretty daggum good. Act 1 is a solid run through what feels like a icy wasteland, mixed with a winter wonderland. I don't know why there aren't any Christmas trees or decorations in this zone, but I'm definitely getting Christmas vibes from this place. Act 1 ends with another Knuckles fight, and this one is actually pretty cool. It makes great use of Knuckles' digging abilities. He'll burrow underground and pop out under you, trying to knock you off your feet and do damage. It's a clever fight and a great use of his moveset. Then we get to the best part of the zone, the beginning of Act 2. After losing the fight, Knuckles pounds the ground in frustration, causing an avalanche. Then you get a full 3D style section where the camera faces Sonic and Tails from the front as they snowboard away from the avalanche. This section is awesome. And the best part, you actually get to keep the snowboard for a bit afterward. So you get the snowboard around in 2D for a little while. And later in Act 2, you even get another snowboard to snowboard around in 2D for a bit. It's just fun. And the music in both acts is great. Not my absolute favorite tracks in the game, but this soundtrack is so consistently good that even the pretty good tracks are still bangers. The boss here is the Penguin Head again. Basically the same fight from the Game Gear version, just with a few extra attacks and patterns. Nothing too crazy, but it gets the job done. And after you beat the boss, Sonic and Tails hop into an elevator and ride it down, and way down, into the next zone. Next up is Tidal Plant, and right away, this zone shows how much the 16-bit remake has improved the original design. Act 1 is your typical underwater level, but it's still way better than the Game Gear version. You still ride bubbles occasionally, and if you switch to Tails, you can actually swim, which makes the whole act a lot easier and way more fun. The boss of Act 1 is Fang the Sniper, again, and it's nothing too crazy. But Act 2 is where things really pick up. You spend almost the entire act inside a submarine, and unlike the original, this one doesn't explode after a single hit. You get to keep it for the whole level, and it feels really great to control. One thing I really love about the two acts is how the environment changes between them. In Act 1, it feels like you're in some kind of partially flooded underwater facility, maybe an actual water plant of some kind. Not entirely sure, but it has mechanical machinery scattered around and pipes everywhere. It's industrial and it's pretty claustrophobic at times, and very mechanical. But in Act 2, you get about a quarter of the way through it, and this giant monster that's been stalking you throughout the level suddenly blocks your path and shatters the glass pipe you were traveling through. And suddenly, once you leave the busted pipe, you're in the open ocean. Well, as open as a Sonic level can be. There are still boundaries, but it feels natural, wide, and alive. You're no longer in metal corridors, you're actually out in the ocean, and it's a really cool shift in atmosphere. The music in both acts is immaculate. They're atmospheric and perfect for the setting. Anyway, throughout Act 2, there's a giant monster that chases you, and you only see bits and pieces of it tunneling through rock and blocking paths, and just harassing you in general. But you never see the full thing until the end of the zone. And it looks like all is lost because the missiles and nothing you do damages the creature, but then Knuckles shows up with his own submarine and absolutely obliterates it. Yup, it's time for the Knuckles submarine fight. And this version is a huge upgrade from the original. His patterns are more complex, the fight is faster, and you're in a submarine the whole time. It's just really freaking cool. And then, plot twist, it wasn't Knuckles at all. It was Metal Sonic in disguise. Man, this remake goes hard. Then there's Act 3, where you get the jet boots again and chase Metal Sonic as he rockets off to who knows where. You even get a mid-air boss fight with him. It's simple and nothing too difficult, but the remix of Metal Sonic's Japanese Sonic CD theme is incredible. It fits the fight perfectly, and was not something I was expecting from this remake. Next up, we have the final zone, Atomic Destroyer. And unlike the original, this one is far more visually pleasing, let me put it that way. And it also is in space, which is something I genuinely wasn't expecting. And let me tell you, this zone is freaking hard. It's basically Death Egg from Sonic 3 and Knuckles cranked up to 11. You've got pistons, gravity gimmicks, and weird energy platforms you can run on. And yes, this entire place feels like it was designed to kill you. Visually though, it looks fantastic. The backgrounds, the machinery, the lighting, this zone goes all in on the final base aesthetic. Even the Act 1 boss arena looks great. And speaking of that, the Act 1 boss is Metal Sonic. Yup, you fight him again, and it's a solid fight. And the music goes hard. Seriously, I love this boss track. Another really cool thing about Act 1, you can actually see Metal and Fang fight each other in the background, which is hilarious. The fact that Metal Sonic kicks Fang's ass in this game is just beautiful. Don't worry, Fang survives. He even shows up later to try and stop you, only to accidentally set himself on fire when he hits a bomb switch. Yeah, it turns out Eggman was smart enough to trap one of his animal capsules, so when Sonic hit it, it would set him on fire. But Fang, for some reason, thought he would try to open it. Why? I have no idea. I don't see why he thought freeing the animals would help him. But regardless, it sets Fang on fire, and it's hilarious. Also, Act 2 has this one area that looks almost proto 3D, and honestly, the graphics in Atomic Destroyer overall are incredible. But this zone is hard as nails. I got multiple game overs here. The hardest part for me was the elevator section. It's a brutal auto-scroller where you have to dodge hazards non-stop. It's tough. And the music? Act 1's theme is fine, nothing special. But Act 2's theme is just absolutely perfect. Both fit the final base aesthetic, but Act 2 is easily the better track. And at the end of Act 2, you have to fight an almost perfect recreation of the original Triple Trouble's final boss. All the phases are here: the stomping mech, the flamethrower form, the lightning form, and the chamber form. It's all here, but with a few tweaks. The biggest one being that Eggman's machine now has spikes on top of it in phases 2, 3, and 4. So you can't do the weird hit him on the head and recollect your ring trick in phase 4 like you could in the original. After beating him, you free Knuckles, and this time, the ending actually shows everyone flying off into the sunset with Knuckles on the plane. It's a really nice touch, and way better than the original ending, where Knuckles just flies off on his own for no reason. And honestly, it makes way more sense that Eggman captured him in the remake over the original. You see, in the original, Eggman didn't really seem to have a reason to capture Knuckles, because he tricked Knuckles into helping him, and Knuckles just lost a fight in a submarine. So, yeah, there was no real reason for Eggman to capture him if they were technically allies. But in the remake, it's very obvious that Metal Sonic was impersonating Knuckles the whole time, so it makes sense that Eggman would capture the real Knuckles and keep him in a cage. And you're probably wondering now, if you just beat the game, why aren't you wrapping up the review? Because there's still a lot more to talk about. Noah Copeland didn't just remake the campaign, and what you just saw wasn't technically the true ending. So, the normal ending is perfectly fine. It's serviceable. It wraps things up, and if you stop there, you still get a complete experience. But it's not the true ending. To get the real ending, you need all 7 Chaos Emeralds. How do you get them? Well, you collect 6 of them from special stages, and you enter those special stages the same way you do in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, by finding giant rings hidden throughout the levels. I didn't have that much trouble finding them on my first playthrough. I found 5 of the emeralds just by playing through the game normally. I only had the replay levels to get 1 more. And honestly, these special stages are really good. They're basically 3D racetracks where you have to race Fang to the Chaos Emerald. Most of the time, you're running on foot, collecting rings to stay alive. Because if you run out of rings, that's an instant fail. And falling off the track is also an instant fail. You dodge obstacles, grab rings, and pick up lightning bolts to slow Fang down. And sometimes in these special stages, you even get to fly the Tornado, which is a really cool change of pace. I like these special stages a lot. They're fun to play. And the backgrounds are gorgeous. Some of them look straight up wallpaper worthy. And you can retry them by spending an extra life. And since the only zone that really kicked my ass was Atomic Destroyer, I usually had plenty of lives to spare. And if you need more lives, you can get plenty more from the bonus games you can access by hitting star posts with enough rings. You got slot machines, a cannon mini game where you launch yourself through rings, and honestly, the bonus mini games are pretty fun. And once you get all 6 emeralds, you gotta go back to Atomic Destroyer, beat the final boss again, and Eggman drops the 7th emerald. But instead of the normal ending, Metal Sonic shows up. He grabs one of the negative emeralds that Eggman created and absolutely beats the tar out of Sonic and Tails. And honestly, this cutscene just speaks for itself. It's just absolutely peak. Yup, it's time for a supersonic boss fight. And I beat this boss on my first try, so it's not super difficult, but man, is it awesome. Although, what in the ever-loving heck did Metal Sonic turn into? His first form looks ridiculous. He looks like a freaking sex toy. And about halfway through the fight, he starts pulling in other mechanical debris. And I thought, oh boy, we're about to get a Metal Overlord boss fight. But no, he transforms into another giant, stupid-looking thing. Look, I'm gonna be honest. Metal Sonic's final boss designs in this game are dumb as hell. But the fight itself, awesome. The background for the fight is incredible. It changes as the fight goes on, as Sonic and Metal Sonic fight from space, and they go back down to Earth. The pacing is great, and while the music could be just a little more epic, it's still a great fight. And the ending is fantastic. Sonic flies back down to Earth as the credits roll, with a post-credit scene having Sonic fly beside Tails and Knuckles on the tornado. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful shot and a perfect way to wrap up the true ending of the game. So yeah, that's the true ending of Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit.
But wait! There's more!
Next up, we've got to talk about Knuckles' campaign. Because yes, Knuckles gets his own full story campaign in this remake. And it opens with a really cool surprise. It has Knuckles teleporting back to Angel Island during the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Yes, the first level is literally Angel Island Zone. And it's very much like the original Angel Island from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but redesigned a little bit around Knuckles' abilities. It even ends with Knuckles reaching the Master Emerald and watching Sonic and Tails fly off, just like the ending of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And then, Metal Sonic shows up. And yes, the first boss of Knuckles' campaign is Metal Sonic. And after barely scraping by, Metal Sonic copies Knuckles' data and flies off. Knuckles, realizing something is very wrong, uses the Master Emerald to teleport 6 of the Chaos Emeralds away, which explains why they vanished in the opening of Sonic and Tails' story. So it wasn't Fang who scattered them, it was Knuckles. That's actually a really cool plot twist. From here, Knuckles' adventure is mostly the same as Sonic and Tails, but with some unique challenges here and there. Knuckles can smash through certain walls, take alternate routes, glide, climb walls. Basically, he can do everything he could do in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And things stay pretty familiar until Tidal Plant, where Knuckles' route is completely different. Knuckles' version of Tidal Plant Act 2 is totally different. Instead of grabbing a submarine, Knuckles gets some kind of oxygen rebreather that lets him swim through the level and punch through obstacles, He even fights the giant water monster directly, something Sonic and Tails don't do. And you don't see the water monster tearing up the level. You see the aftermath of the destruction though, so I'm guessing this fight takes place after Sonic and Tails went through here. And at the end of Title Plant, instead of chasing Metal Sonic on a rocket, Knuckles runs into Eggman, who uses one of the Dark Chaos Emeralds to teleport him straight to Atomic Destroyer. And everything plays out mostly the same until the final boss. And then Knuckles gets hit with an absolute boss rush. He has to fight Fang, Metal Sonic, and Eggman back to back to back. And the final Eggman fight? It's actually really good. And really hard. And it makes full use of Knuckles' abilities. In Phase 1, Eggman fires balls at you. Some are normal, some are electrified. You have to jump into the normal ones to fire them back at him, and to break his electrical shield, and deactivate one of the electrical walls. Then you can climb the safe wall and hit him while he's recharging. In Phase 2, there's no floor. You're climbing walls the entire time, and flying to hit Eggman whenever he's open. It's tough, but it feels fair and designed specifically for Knuckles. Knuckles' campaign then ends with Metal Sonic swooping in, grabbing him, and then trapping him in the cage. The same cage that Sonic and Tails free him from later. Overall, it's a pretty solid campaign. It's fun, and it adds a little more context to the main plot. And what else do I gotta talk about? Oh yeah, free play. So, by beating story mode campaigns, you can unlock playable characters in free play mode. Free play mode lets you play any level that you have unlocked with any character you have unlocked. And you can unlock both Metal Sonic and Fang. And you can also play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy too. And they're all really fun. Personally, I love playing as Fang. He's an absolute goofball. Seriously, look at his animation during the 3D snowboard section in Robotnik Winter Act 2. It's hilarious. Also, he has a gun. And yes, it's overpowered as hell, but also extremely fun. And Amy has multiple movesets depending on which 2D version of her you prefer. She has her Superstar style, her Sonic 3 Air style, and her Origin style, which is a really cool touch. And Free Play is also the only mode where you can use super forms outside of scripted story events. Just get 50 rings, press jump, press Y, and boom. Super Sonic, Super Tails, Super Fang, Super whoever you're playing as. There's also a competition mode you can still try out. And this mode actually has its own little mini campaigns with short storylines and everything. But they all basically boil down to this. Eggman is hosting some big tournament with a huge cash prize, and every character shows up for their own reasons. Sonic immediately knows this is complete and utter nonsense and wants to stop whatever Eggman is planning, which, by the way, turns out to be some kind of hologram cloning experiment he wants to test. The story isn't super detailed. It's mostly just an excuse for Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Fang to fight each other. It does end with a unique Eggman boss fight though, but that's about it. However, I will give this mode credit for one thing. It officially made Fang my favorite character in Sonic Triple Trouble. Why? Because he is absolutely hilarious. He is the only character who genuinely believes Eggman is going to give the winner a heroic reward. And he has the best line in the entire game. No money, no mercy. And after everything is over, he immediately tries to steal Knuckles' Master Emerald, because it would be worth millions to the right buyer. Oh, and apparently, he can be a hero for the right price. Yeah, Fang's personality can basically be summed up as, I'm not evil, I'm just financially motivated. You can also play multiplayer if you got a friend, or Parsec, like I do. Me and my music producer, Jared, played a few rounds of the multiplayer, and there are 3 game modes, which are Race, get to the goal as fast as possible. Balloon, you're stuck in an arena popping balloons. Whoever pops the most wins. And Battle, which is beat the ever-loving snot out of each other. And I'll let Jared tell you what he thought of it all.
Yeah, so I really like the 16-bit style representative of the OG game, plus the Weasel guy, Knack. He's, I don't really know much about him, but he seems kind of dastardly. And the gameplay on the story, while I haven't got through much of the acts, plays pretty much like an OG Sonic with a little spin, and that music is really cool too. Gets me in my like Sonic mood. But the main thing is that the multiplayer gameplay is, oh my gosh, it's a little bit silly because you can just like jump at each other to attack each other, and there's not many options for attacking other than just jumping. But it's very splendid, very spectacular. There's a lot of very cool game modes, like the balloon attack, kind of like reminiscent of Mario Kart, where you have the balloons and you get hit and you lose a balloon, except this time you're gathering balloons while trying not to attack each other or get hit by each other, I mean. And there's also a battle mode where you can just straight up attack each other by, well, jumping into each other. And then there's a race mode, which is my favorite. It seems that you can just race on a map, split screen style, and see who comes out the victor. And for me, I seem like I'm pretty good at kicking this little prick's ass. Isn't that right, Troy? I'm just joking. I got my ass kicked too. It was double-handedly. We both kicked each other's ass. Like Triple Trouble 16-bit was quite the fun fan game. Thanks for playing with it with me.
You're welcome, buddy.
And with that, I think I've officially covered everything there is to talk about in Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit. I cannot recommend this game enough. It's 100% free. Just Google it. And the amount of effort they put into this remake is insane. Seriously, check it out. Before I go, a quick announcement though. My studio, Centurion Dragon Studios, has a new game called Myths and Monsters coming out this July. And I'll end the video with an ad for that. And next month is Month of Dragon Quest. I'll be playing and reviewing the first 4 original Dragon Quest games. So make sure you stop by next week to check out my review of Dragon Quest 1. And if you want to join the Discord server, the link is in the description. Come hang out with other Sonic fans and members of the studio. We'd love to have you. And I'll see you guys next Saturday for my Dragon Quest review. This is Troy, the Anti-Gamer Slayer, signing off! Hey, you! Yes, you! Doom Sprawler! Do I have the thing that's absolutely gonna test your attention span? First off, this RPG has no voice acting! None! 0! You actually have to read, which already disqualifies half the internet from playing it. And the combat? Yeah, you can't just mash attack and pray. Try that here, and you'll be staring at the game over screen in no time if you don't use your brain. The game doesn't hold your hand either. It's hard, like actually hard. The kind of hard that makes you question your life choices. World map? Pah! Who needs a world map? You get a compass. It shows your coordinates. I hope you wrote down where you were supposed to go when the NPC told you. If not, too bad. Figure it out, chump. Myths and monsters. If your brain's been asleep for a decade, it's about to get a wake-up call.